Why is the feminist movement bullshit? Well, I'm going to talk about this, but there's going to be a million people out there who are going to be pissed off at me. Maybe not so much. Maybe probably don't have a lot of women who watch me. I don't have a lot of anybody who watches me. Let me put it that way. But of the few people who watch my videos, the majority of them are probably men. It seems that's how YouTube works, for the YouTube atheist community at least. Seems like there are a lot more male viewers than there are women. Oh, by the way, this is my dog. Her name is Mosey. She's a pit bull. She's pretty cool. She's very fidgety and big. Say hi to everybody. She's really dumb. Okay, why is the feminist movement harmful to the women's movement, to women's rights? Well, let's take a look at the word feminism. Now, the word feminism conjures up femininity. It doesn't conjure up human rights. Let me give you a counter example. When black people were for their rights, it was called the Civil Rights Movement. Okay, and they wanted civil rights, which means rights that are for everyone. They're human rights in this country. They were fighting for their civil rights as civilians. But what are feminists fighting for? Women's rights. They're feminists. Now, black people weren't fighting for black rights. They were fighting for civil rights. There's a big difference going on here. When you label yourself with the word femininity, automatically what you're doing is singling yourself out. You're automatically segregating yourself. Instead of saying, we want the same rights and privileges as men, as the rest of, the country, you're saying, we want these special rights for women. And then what you've essentially done is alienated yourselves from, half the population, or even some women don't like that term, it keeps people from really finding out what feminism is about and what women's rights are about. And it's a terrible term. What they should be calling themselves are humanists or equalists. Either of those would be fine. Off the top of my head, that makes sense to me. Now, if I was to call myself a masculinist, every person on the internet would think I'm a gigantic prick, except for maybe other bigots. I don't know. But I'm not. I believe in women's equality. I believe in equal rights for anyone, whether race, creed, religion, even though I'm an atheist, sexual orientation, gender, whatever. Doesn't matter. Everyone should have equal rights. People fighting for transsexual rights and transsexualism. You don't ever hear this. This is something that's unique to the women's movement. And it's harmful. Essentially, it's harmful instead of helpful. In the long run, it's harmful. What a lot of feminist doctrine says is that women need to rise above men. And essentially what they're trying to do is compensate for the years of being held below men. And this is not a short period of time I'm talking about. We all know that throughout human history, women have been not treated as equals to men. And that's wrong. But what you're doing when you're saying you want these feminist rights, and they talk about rising up above and how much better women are than men, it's not equalist. Like I said, they can't call themselves equalists. They can't call themselves humanists because they're elevating women higher than men, saying that if there were no women, or if there were if women held public office, there would be no more war, and everyone would be a lot more in touch with their emotions, and it would just be a better world if women were in charge. Now, whether that's true or not, we don't know. But I think without knowing and saying that, you've essentially done something where you've elevated women above men instead of trying to bring yourself to an equal playing field. What feminists need to do is stop getting caught up in empowering themselves so much that they effectively scare away people that normally would agree with their when you get down to what they're going for, would definitely agree with it. But there are people who think all feminists are lesbians. There are people who think all feminists are bitchy individuals. And what that comes from is not necessarily the fact that these women are lesbians. Of course they're not all lesbians. Or that, they're all bitchy. It's the manner in the way they present themselves and what they get caught up in. I just read in my philosophy book for philosophy class this woman philosopher named Mary Daly, who was talking about how religion was gender biased, which I totally agree with. That religion teaches that the man should be the head of the household usually, and that they have power over their wives and things like that, and their wives should be subservient. I totally agree with this woman when she's talking about this. But then she says we have to castrate God, and basically what she's saying is we have to feminize God. We have to turn God into a woman. Instead of saying, wait a minute, a God, if he exists, is not male or female. Why would he need genitals? Okay? He doesn't need genitals. He's not going to find another God of the opposite sex and put his giant God phallus or his giant God pussy around another God's genitals of the opposite type and make little God babies. It's irrelevant. He does not need sexual organs. He doesn't need organs at all. Therefore, why would he be a man or a woman? If anything, he'd be asexual. Or androgynous, I guess you would say. Even if God is anything close to a human form. I mean, even if he exists. There's so many questions and so many ifs there. But she's saying we need to castrate God, and maybe it's symbolism, but she's saying it in such a violent manner, you can definitely feel all the hate in her voice. And it spurred me to say something about the feminist movement on YouTube that I've always said in my life, that I believe in women's rights and I believe in women's equality. We should all be equal on this planet. No one type of person should have special privileges over the other one. There are always little exceptions, like, women's right to have an abortion or not. It's not really the man's choice in that respect because it is their body. But you have to, there are always exceptions to every rule. But what I mean is everyone deserves equal rights. And the feminist movement essentially alienates themselves and destroys the women's movement. Maybe one day they'll rethink what they're doing. Someone will walk up and slap the feminists in the face and say, hey, you're not helping anything. In fact, you're making it worse. Go be militant on someone else's time. And any women who, or men for that matter, that misinterpret what I'm saying and don't understand what I'm saying, try thinking. It helps. It really does help. So, I guess that's all for now. Bye, YouTube. And, fuck the feminist. Mosey? Hey. Say hi to YouTube. Say hi to YouTube. Say hi, YouTube. This is the gayest dog in history. You do anything but get in my way. There she goes. It's the end of that.